So good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's online meetup where we have a guest presenter. And the topic today is 3 steps to building a business that works for you and not the other way around. Meaning, you don't want your business taking charge of you. You want to take charge of it. Right, Eva? Yes. You can just give me a thumbs up. So my name is Liz Garcia. I am host and founder of the High Vibe Tribe online meetup group. I'm officially going to call it that because we get a lot of high vibe, highly conscious people come join us here every week. And we help launch their careers in any way that they need help in the marketing realm. But we have this online meetup so that we can come together because many people work alone and they could use some business and marketing support and good things like that. So I'm also founder of the Mind, Body, Spirit Network and the AthenaArena.com, which is my newest venture into personal branding for individuals just like you and understanding the importance of really stepping it up in your business with a brand. So our presenter today is Miss Iva Paleckova, and I'm going to read a little bit about Iva just in a minute. So she is an executive coach for entrepreneurs as well as a restaurant owner, and she owns this awesome paleo restaurant in Boulder, Colorado called Blooming Beets, and I've been there for a celebration and the food is awesome. She helps leaders who are serious about growing their business but feel out of control and overwhelmed. And Eva has created a step-by-step formula that systematically transforms your leadership and elevates every aspect of your business so you can be a powerful leader who is free to be, free to act, and able to make a real difference. She's a woman and leadership coach and holds an MBA in entrepreneurship and marketing from the University of Texas and has extensive experience in small business finance, marketing, branding, leadership, management, system, and sales. Among other things, she's consulted for an incubator of in Austin, Texas, and created a health coaching program that served 5,000 people. She's originally from the Czech Republic and has traveled to 35 countries and worked on 3 continents and 3 different languages before choosing Colorado as her home. She received her MBA in marketing entrepreneurship from the University of Texas and worked for Fortune 500 companies and consulted startups. So off to the races there, Eva. Go ahead and share your screen or get started.
Can you guys see me? Yeah, you can see me.
Oh, yeah.
My screen quite yet. So welcome. There's going to be lots and lots of information that I want to cover, so you might want to grab something to write with. It's going to be about 35 minutes training, and the title is 3 Key Steps to Owning a Business That Works for You and Not the Other Way Around. And I designed this training because I want to make it useful for people who are really committed to creating a business and being the leader in the business and the owner, and not somebody who works in your business and not being somebody who does everything. So I want to share a little bit about where I was a few years ago. About 4.5 years ago, 4 years ago, I opened a restaurant. And what followed was the 2 absolutely most horrendous years of my life. And I'm going to paint the picture for you a little bit. So every morning, I come to the restaurant before anybody else got in, and I was the last one to leave. So I walk in every morning, I open the door, and the first thing I noticed, oh my gosh, they didn't sweep the floor. Oh my God, they didn't clean the bathroom. Oh my God, they didn't do the brisket. They didn't do this. Nobody listens to me. Nobody respects me. Oh my God, this just sucks, right? And I just had it like, I did not know how to make people around me step up, and I did not know how to be a leader, and I did not know how to create systems for my business to run. And it was so interesting because it really didn't matter that I had an MBA and all this stuff, and I knew kind of theoretically what to do, but when I had my own business, it was like a completely different story. So, what did I want to share with you about that? As what's interesting about this
I was kind of like walking around frustrated and overwhelmed and working 18 hours a day. I was kind of the prime example of what you call, it's like a leadership profile. It's called the persecutor. And it is somebody who has it like, I'm the only one how to do stuff right, and everybody else is a fool and idiot. And I didn't say it, but I was always thinking it. And I was like, why are people around me not stepping up? Why do I have to do everything? And the thing about that is when I was doing that, I was getting something out of it. And what I got out of it is that I got to feel superior, and I got to feel a sense of control, right? And the thing that it was a huge cost to it, because I was hiring really, really good people, but I was basically turning princes into frogs. I was basically disempowering people around me because I didn't see them as such. I was like, oh my God, you guys are just not stepping up. I'm just going to do it myself. It was this frustration waiting to happen. And on top of that, so there was my leadership, and then there was this complete just lack of systems. And I was doing everything in my business. I was doing the cooking, the cleaning, the surveying, making the menu, sending out the newsletter, doing the Facebook, doing the Twitter, doing the Instagram, talking to the media, talking to customers, designing new items for the menu, being on videos. It was so much. Looking back, I'm like, how in the world did I do that? And where I am today is this. I spend about 6 hours a week on the restaurant. And it's mostly doing the kinds of stuff that I really love doing, which is coaching my staff, setting up new strategy, and what do? Talk to my customers about 2 hours a week. And I love doing that. And it's kind of like, it's just turned into, I really, really love the restaurant business. So what I want to share with you today is the 3 key steps that matter the most as you're growing your business. And by the way, this is not just if you have a big business and a bunch of employees. This is for everybody. It doesn't matter what size of the business. You could be the show of one for now, or have one contractor working for you, or an assistant. Those things are the kinds of things that apply. So the 3 key steps. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to jump right in. All right. You guys see my screen?
We can see it.
Okay, you can see it. All right, wonderful. Okay, and can you guys see me? Wonderful. So the key step number 1, and this is the most important thing, is starting with the picture in mind of what your business is going to look like when it's done. And this is important, and we all know this, right? But so many of us don't do it, actually. And when you think about building a house, what happens if you just started laying bricks on top of each other and just kind of wanted to see what happens? You probably wouldn't get a house, right? So it's really, really important, same thing as business, to be clear on your vision and hold that vision front and center no matter what. And I know a lot of you already do this, but there's this visualization practice, and I do this actually every morning. Every morning I pick a piece of my business and I go into writing visualization and writing out aspects of my business and what I want it to look like. And I already have this big picture in mind that I wrote out. So how do you go about this? A, you have a morning practice, and B, you get really, really clear through doing some serious writing. Just like we do vision boards for our lives, we have to do a vision board of sorts for our business. And I have actually a gift for you. I have a worksheet. It's called the Ideal Business Worksheet that I'm going to send you. And the things that you include when you formulate the vision for your business is, for example, when will your vision happen? When does your ideal business happen? How many employees are you going to have? How many customers are you going to have? How many people are you going to make a difference with? What's the culture going to look like in your business? How do you interact with people? How do you interact with your customers, your staff? How do they interact with each other? And most importantly, what is your role as a CEO? What is the only things you will be doing in your business? So that is the key step number one. Super important. Every single day I get present to that vision. And this is really, really useful because I do that in the morning and then I ask myself, okay, so out of this vision, what is the most important thing I can do today to move towards that vision? And as I'm writing, I usually have some really, really good ideas, and then I go and make my to-do list and execute on that. Step number two. This is what I call the 33-33-33 rule. And it's all about how we spend our time. So 33% of your time should be spent working on your leadership. And I heard Deborah talking about this. It was really, really great. You're working on yourself. And there's 4 key things within that we need to cover. And it seems like it's a lot of time, but it's not, because us being ahead of the business in terms of leadership is probably the most important thing. So number 1 is always pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. Always being a little bit on the edge and doing things you're a little uncomfortable doing, and kind of being with that fear when it arises and working through it and being with it, not necessarily pushing it away, but let it be okay and take action anyway. The number 2 thing I think is very, very important is getting coaching. And for me, I was like thinking about that this morning. I have 3 coaches right now. I have a coach for my book because I'm wanting to become a best-selling author. Then I have a coach, I have a life coach, then I have a business coach, and I'm thinking about taking on a dating coach because I'm not doing too well in that area. So, I kind of live that talk, but it's so important because when we're up to something, that chances when we get scared that we're going to slump into our old negative patterns is so high. I have tried all by myself. I'm like, okay, no, I really need the help because I know it works. Number 3 is spending the time educating yourself. And, I say reading books, but I don't really read them. I listen to a ton of books on Audible. And I recommend that to anybody because it doesn't take time. You can just play a book on Audible and listen to all kinds of books as you're driving, as you're hiking, and just getting the inspiration. I have it part of my morning routine. I go for a hike and I turn on a book on Audible and listen to something, and it just really gets me thinking and going and brainstorming, and it's a really, really good practice. And the last thing that I really, really, really value working in your leadership is having a daily practice to work on some of your blind spots and transforming some of your leadership patterns. And I'm going to talk about that part of number 3 step, how that works. But, no coaching is going to get us anywhere if we just do the hour of coaching a week and then, we don't take any follow-up action. So it's super, super important. So that's the first third of your time. The second third of your time should be spent working on your business. And this is super important because by saying working on your business, I don't mean, posting on Facebook or trying to get customers. That's not working on your business. That's actually in your business. Third of your business should be spent, or third of your time should be spent creating the strategy and the systems and the processes that are going to work you out of your business. And there's many different areas that you're going to need to cover, like creating your financial management, getting reporting, creating a systems for working with anybody that you bring on board, like your contractors or volunteers or your first employee or your 10th employee. Creating systems for your own performance. Like, for example, for this talk, right? Like I have a clearing and then I have a worksheet after. Okay, what worked, what didn't work, how can I improve next time, right? So there's like systems for everything. I was thinking about this yesterday. I have this friend of mine, and she was kind of overwhelmed, and she said to me, I'm really, really overwhelmed and I need an assistant, and I think I'm going to hire Gina. And I said to her, okay, well, what's Gina going to do for you? And she says, well, I don't know. I'm just going to have her like create my CRM and help with random stuff. I was thinking, okay, there's a little bit of a problem with that because number 1, CRM is kind of part of your marketing system. That's a system that you have to design and create a system for before you bring people in and then you train them. And the way I think about it is that your business should be systems-based and not people-based. You create the systems, you create the rules, and then you bring in people to help you fill the roles. And that way, if somebody leaves, somebody moves on, you're not, they're not the key to your business. You still have a system, and you just train people as you bring them on. And there's something that I realized this early on in my restaurant too, and we don't have a chef. And there is a reason for it, right? Like, I want people to come to my business and learn how to do it and grow with it, rather than one person kind of doing their way, and when they leave, then what, right? So that, I think, is super, super, super important. And then, you want to have a system definitely for attracting your clients. You want to have your ideal client messaging, your messaging umbrella, your branding umbrella, your marketing funnel, or the process for it. And it's a system that needs you as little as possible. So you're not running around half the day doing networking and things like that. Not that it's not important, but it's really important having that down. Now, the last thing, the last 33% of your time should be spent working in your business, but it's with one caveat. It's doing what you love. And I've heard a lot of people say, when you're a business owner, you have to do a lot of stuff you don't like. And that's actually not true. The thing that you have to think about is, okay, what is all the things that I do in my business? Write it down. For some of you, it might be a really long list. And at the restaurant, it was a huge, huge, huge list to me. And then step by step, work yourself out of the stuff that you don't want to be doing. And just stick with the 2 or 3 things that you really enjoy doing, right? So, like, for example, if it's giving presentations or coaching people, or whatever it is, those are the things you really, really want to be doing. The rest, you either automate or delegate. That's how do I explain this? This is how you create more time and more focus to grow your business and become a business leader, because you're not doing everything. You delegate to other people, but you first have to create systems for it. So that is key step number 2. Number 3, and this is probably my favorite one, grow your leadership capacity first. So when I first started running the restaurant, my leadership was way, 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 way behind the restaurant. I was kind of limping behind. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to lead people. I had it like people wouldn't listen to me anyway. And doing what I do, I created a system around my own growth of the leadership, right? And I call it the tomato plant system, and it's really, really fun. So when you think about growing a tomato, and just a disclaimer, I've actually never grown anything, but if you grow a tomato, you need to make sure it's in the right environment, and you've got to make sure you pull out some of the weeds, right? So if you pull all the weeds and you pull it in the wrong environment, when you put your tomato plant in the South Pole, it's probably not going to grow. And it's kind of the same thing with your leadership. You got to focus on both things, both sides of the equation. You get rid of the weeds / the things that hold you back from being a powerful leader, and then you make sure you create the environment, you put yourself in a growth conducive environment. So what are some of the weeds that we deal with in leadership? And there's lots of them, but I think the 3 most important ones, the first one is definitely your past. And we got to be really, really vigilant where it holds us back. And I'm going to share a story with you. I was I'm trying to turn on the camera, but I can't find it anymore. Left. Can you guys hear me still?
I can hear you, but you were a little sketchy there for a second, Eva.
Okay. All right. I'm glad you guys can hear me. I couldn't find the camera. I wanted to turn it back on.
Well, you have to hit stop share.
Oh, share. Oh, and then start the deal. Okay.
And then we should see you again.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
But we're not, there we go. Okay.
All right, now you guys can see me. So I wanted to share with you some of the stuff where past really helped me back in my business. So have you guys ever, any of you went to a summer camp?
Yes.
Yay. Cool. So when I was 9 or 10, I used to go to the summer camp, and we would play dodgeball. And, you know, as in any dodgeball, you've got two captains, and they're picking their team members. I'm standing there, and now I'm really, really bad at those games, right? I just, like, when I see the ball, I just run away. I can't hit it. I can't throw it. I'm just really bad at it. But I'm standing there waiting to be picked, and they're not picking me. And the group of people is getting smaller and smaller. And I'm like, oh, my God, please, I don't want to be the last one. I don't want to be the last one. I don't want to be the last one. And you know what happens when you say that? You're the last one. And I'm standing there. And it gets worse. The two captains start going. One of them says, well, you take her. The other says, no, you take her. All right, fine, we'll take her. And I'm standing there completely humiliated. And there's two decisions that I made about it. One of them being I'll never, ever, ever, ever play sports. And I still stick to it, by the way. Never played any sports since. And the other decision that I made about it that I didn't know was that I am a bother and nobody wants me around. And 20 years later, 22 years later, I'm in my business, and it says on my calendar every day at 10 o'clock that I'm supposed to be making sales calls. So 10 a.m. rolls around, I check my calendar because I have all the blocking systems set up, all that, right? So that I know what to do and I stick to my goals. So 10 a.m. rolls around and I know I'm supposed to be making sales calls, and I notice I should really finish the laundry. That's gonna really have, I gotta check some things off my checklist first. And then I get to the computer and I see some Facebook notifications. I'm responding to that, and I get busy with something else. Then 10:30, I'm like, I really have to make those sales calls. It was for my restaurant, making catering sales calls, right? And I start dialing the number. I'm just dreading it, and the number's dialed and it's ringing, and I'm going like, please don't answer, please don't answer, please don't answer, please don't answer. Of course they don't answer. And because why? What's calling is my 10-year-old, I'm a bother and nobody wants to hear from me. And by the way, that's the kind of thing that shows up, right? Like every time I stand in front of people, I know the first thing that's going to show up is nobody wants to hear from me. So we got to be really, really, really careful about where the past is coming up and where the 10-year-old is running the show. The other weed that I notice pretty frequently is your self-sabotaging patterns. There's a really great book by Gay Hendricks called The Big Leap. I don't know if you've heard about it, write it down. It's a really, really great book. But basically, each of us have an internal thermostat that is set for some level of money, some level of success, some level of joy. And every time you go past that ceiling, every time you go past that thermostat, you're going to do something to bring yourself down. I have a really funny example. I was working for Dell. I was working about 3 hours a day. I was a top 1% performer. I was making six figures. My life was comfortable. The next thing I decided, because I had this guilt about making too much money. I'm like, I'm just making too much. Like, this is not fair. The next thing I do is open a restaurant. I mean, who would do that? Somebody who has a little bit of a feeling about how much money I can make. So there's something to get really facile about where you sabotage yourself. And usually the way you notice it is some kind of worrying or some kind of guilt that comes over you. And by the way, there's areas that kind of can cross each other. So it's like if you're doing really, really well in your business, for example, notice that you might start creating drama in your relationship. because you have some cap level on the level of joy that you can have. I do that too. I can be, like, things are going wonderfully, and then my dating life will go in flames. The last thing leaders we need to be really careful about is the roles that we play in our business. And this is really, really interesting one. And if you want to learn more about this, it's called the Karpman Drama Triangle. And there's a lot of different roles, but the three in particular that I really like looking at with my team is the persecutor, the rescuer, and the victim. And the persecutor is the role that I played in my business. And it's the kind of like, I am the only one who knows what to do, and everybody else is a fool. And when you do that, you disempower people. You create a bunch of victims. And that's what I was doing in my business. And when I broke through that, all of a sudden, people start being able to do stuff. Like, they take on manager roles without being asked. They start stepping up, creating menu items. I'm like, how did that happen? It's like magic. You trust people, and they start stepping up. The other role that we play in our business is the rescuer. It's a really interesting one because it's a role of somebody. If you notice yourself like jumping and rescuing people, oh, let me do this for you, let me help, kind of thing, it kind of has the same effect. Well, first of all, you do it for a reason, right? You're getting something out of it. When you're the rescuer, you get to feel indispensable and you get to feel important. But the cost to it is that, again, you're creating a bunch of victims around you because they start expecting for you to jump in and rescue you. Make sense? So that's the weeds. And there's a whole bunch of other ones and your patterns from your childhood and stuff that we really have to be careful about and transform on a very regular basis. Now, the environment. There's two things. Number one is pushing yourself outside your comfort zone quite a bit and just exercising your courage to always go to the next level and creating the new normal. Like, for example, you start public speaking, you become really comfortable with groups of 3, groups of 4, groups of 5, you start pushing to the next level so that you become really good and comfortable, and then you push yourself a little farther. The second thing that I really like taking advantage of is the power of mental rehearsal. So, for those of you who don't know what I might be talking about, this is really powerful because when it comes to learning, your brain does not know the difference between what's real and what's imagined when it comes to learning. And you can take advantage of it by basically rehearsing and imagining yourself into a new way of being, a new way of leading. And it's really, really powerful. Like, for example, I used to be so scared of public speaking, just terrified. So I'd be somebody who would, when you do those networking meetings and you're kind of sitting around the table and you're supposed to share your name and what you do for your business. And I'd be sitting there, I'd be literally my heart in my throat. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I say something stupid? So I even wasn't able to do that, right? Much less stand in front of people and share something. And I started rehearsing myself into, just imagining myself into what would it feel like if I could actually be there and be with people and stand there and say my name and not shake. Right, so it's that kind of stuff that really helps. So it's like both go together. Take that action, but help yourself a little bit doing the rehearsal before you do it because it's going to create a new pathway in your brain. It's literally going to show your brain a different option and teach your brain, oh, it can be easy too.
So Eva, you've got 5 minutes, just so you know.
Yeah. Almost at the end.
Okay, cool.
So there's a couple things that I want to offer to you or send to you. First of all, what I do in my business that I take people and I show them how to create systems around each key area of the business. And I do it through different modules where you build systems around your financial systems, your marketing, your messaging, your branding strategy, which comes together as 3 different modules, your operations, your hiring, your training, things like that. So that's kind of what I do in my coaching business. But I want to offer you a free strategy session, and the way to schedule, and by the way, I absolutely want you guys to become my client. I'm not going to lie about that. And there's absolutely no obligation. I just really love brainstorming and strategizing with people and talking to them about, okay, what's your dream business? How do we get you there? What could you do differently? Like, how could you stay focused on your vision? Things like that. I'm just really, really, really passionate about that. So the way to schedule that, and Liz, if you could put that in the chat, that would be really cool. It's www.rebrand.ly/strategize. We can figure out how to do that. Oh, wait. Here, rebrand.ly/strategize. Strategize. And I'm going to send you a worksheet and a meditation audio that walks you through all the steps of creating your ideal business. So it's going to have you do some writing and really thinking about, what do I want to create? What does my ideal business look like? How many customers? How many clients? How is the financials going to look like? What's the operations side going to look like? So it's going to get you to a little bit of a brainstorming to get really clear. And then we can talk and brainstorm and strategize how we're going to get you there. So that's all I have for you. Yeah. Liz, are you saying something? I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was muted. No wonder you couldn't hear me. So you're saying, like, well, if we want to do a strategy session with you, we should go through the worksheet first, so that then now you have a good conversation.
Yes.
Okay.
To do a strategy session, as soon as I see it come through, I'm going to email you the worksheet.
Okay. All right. So do you request an email when you have that strategy session, or you must?
Yeah, I'd ask you to fill out your email and all that stuff.
Okay. So I don't have everyone's email here. So if you want to receive these worksheets from Eva, please put your email in the chat box, and I'll be sure she gets that so she can send it to you. Now, we were wondering, Eva, you're in the dark. I don't know if you can get some light on you.
All right, I'll go back.
Go back. That's better. That's much better. So we didn't hear, so Carp-Man drama triangle was what you were talking about. Okay. Yep. And tell me the three, they're kind of archetypes, aren't they? The drama triangle?
Yeah, they're great.
Okay.
They're great. So prosecutor, rescuer, and the victim.
Okay. Okay, we're all good at all of them. No doubt.
I know, aren't we? Sometimes you kind of like jump in between those. They're really fun.
Yeah. So I think, didn't you have some questions about which one we think we are? I mean, we're probably all of them, but was there questions in your worksheet about that?
There's no question in my worksheet about that, but it sounds like you want to share which one you are.
I'm all of them. So I owned a restaurant too when I was young, and I was totally a persecutor. I did exactly what you did. I had to do everything myself. No one else was good enough. I had to be in control of all of it. And then when I needed 20, 30, 40, 50 employees, I'm like, okay, time to give that up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I learned the same. When you have that many people to deal with, you got to learn that lesson fast. Otherwise, you'll kill yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's this other part that, you know, when you're going through the transition, okay, I'm not going to be a control freak anymore. I'm going to be somebody who empowers people to perform. Then you start second guessing yourself. Okay, well, I don't want to micromanage them. I don't want to overwhelm them. And then you go into, sometimes people tend to go into this discomfort with telling people what to do. It's almost like you're telling somebody what to do, and the part of you is feeling guilty about it, and the other person is making you feel guilty about it. So you almost feel like you're getting ganged up on.
Oh.
With the people that work for me, the managers, they just become so terrified of telling people what to do. And I'm like, you need to learn how to stand for somebody to perform. And you need to learn how to coach them and not be like, you're basically coaching them into performance all the time. And that's how it is in the business too.
So, so does anyone have questions for Iva right now? I love the part about systems, and you know, I had a restaurant business and a retail business, and the restaurant clearly needed systems. And then the retail business was a smaller, didn't have as many employees, but that clearly needed systems for I love what you said about setting up systems before you hire anybody. That's so, sure. I love that point. And make sure you as the owner know the system's solid so that you don't like pull the rug out from under yourself, right?
Totally.
I think that's really important. And if you're going to hire someone to create a system, make sure you know it.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure. And you create the system for it. So you designed your interview sheets and your hiring checklist sheet and your training materials. And this is for my coaching business too, right? When I bring somebody on board to help as an assistant or help with social media, they have to go through this. They have to go through the training. They have to read it. They have to watch my videos. They have to pass a test. And you put that in place, and then you can train other people on how to administer that.
Right.
So I have like at the restaurant, for example, like I designed it first, and then you give it to the hiring manager. Here's what you're going to follow.
So I think it's a good point, since you're a solopreneur, and many of these people here are solopreneurs as well, that every piece of the business does require a system. And I know that if you're going to be in coaching, you know, I like what you just said, that you're putting everyone through the same funnel. This is what you learn first. This is what comes next. That's really important to understand when you're starting to get into this. You don't want to be winging it necessarily.
Yeah.
Like have a plan. Cool.
It's really fun. And it's really creative too, right? Because
it is.
It's creating the business. Basically, you're creating a bunch of different systems. And it can be really, really, really fun. I think that's the most fun part about business, honestly.
I agree. I love planning and I love it. Well, I like a lot of things, but I would agree with you on that one, Iva, that's an important part. And it's so rooted in really rooting that business in foundation.
Yeah.
Because people that don't do that, they're like floundering. They can never get traction. They're never focused because they're trying to do everything out here. And they got to start with put the cinder block down, lay the slab, and systems is part of that.
Yeah. And I always think about it, if you're doing anything more than 3 or 4 times and you don't like it, put a systems around it so you don't have to do it.
Yeah. I do that immediately. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to write this a million times.
No, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So if no one has any questions, I want to thank you, Iva, so much, my love, for coming and participating here, sharing your story. I love that you're like a world traveling woman doing lots of things all over the world. That's awesome. I do have a question about those 5,000 people you were helping. What was that all about?
Oh, it was really funny because that was when I was at Dell and I was working, right? I was like making too much money and all this stuff, and I was telling myself that, and I was like, okay, I really don't like how do I share this? I was marketing storage and servers, and I am not a fan of technology to begin with.
Yeah, that's pretty dry.
Your life is you have a purpose, and your purpose is to make a difference in some kind of area that you're passionate about. And it was a time where I transitioned into, and this is a little bit of a nutrition side, right? I went paleo and I started running, and I finished a 100-mile run. And everyone was like, wow, this thing really works. And I really decided that I wanted to make a difference with people in that area. So I created a bunch of programs, and I had like a 5-week program that I put a bunch of people through. And it was really, really fun. But it was me hiding behind a computer. it was just online programs, not being with people. And that's when, you know, my husband at the time, who's a wonderful, wonderful guy, we're still good friends, and he was like, why don't you open a restaurant? I'm like, are you serious? Like, me? Like, I don't know anything about restaurants. And it just like seems like a paleo restaurant. Like, who would even go there? There's no paleo restaurants. Now there's like 6 in the country. So, woohoo, the market has exploded. But it was like, I was like, that was, the online coaching wasn't scary. The restaurant was so scary because I was like, I don't know even how to cook. I don't know, nobody's going to come. I would like wake up nightmare, like nobody's going to come once we sign the lease. Like, we're going to be on a lease for 5 years. Nobody will show up. It's going to be a disaster. How we're going to, like, I had nightmares. How in the world, because, you know, I've never worked in a commercial kitchen. I was like, how in the world do you cook something and get it to people on the plate in 10 minutes? I was like, there's no way that's going to happen, right?
That's a courageous leap.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah, it was really fun.
I call opening a restaurant a real MBA.
What's that?
I said, when I had a restaurant, I'm like, this is what a real MBA is about.
Oh, I know, right?
Big time.
I know. I was like, you know, I have an MBA, and was it useful? No, not at all.
Jumping into a restaurant will do it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Okay, so Lisbeth would like to make a comment about the tomato plant. Come on, share there, woman. What do you want to say about the tomato plant?
Do you mean tomatoes?
Okay, go ahead.
No, I just like the tomato plant, the story about the tomato plant, because it's like when you grow a tomato plant, it will sprout out, and if you don't nip off the small extra sprouts, it'll become a little bush that doesn't produce a lot of tomatoes. But if you pinch off the extra sprouts, it won't branch out and suffocate itself. And that's kind of like when building a business. You know, you got a lot of great ideas and I can do everything, but if you keep a focus, then you will grow upwards and you won't suffocate yourself. So, I don't
Nice.
know.
I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. So you're saying you have to like nib off like sides of the tomatoes that have to grow tall?
Yeah, because every time it takes another leap, it sprouts out. A bit like when you do business, you get a lot of new ideas and then you have to choose which ideas to continue with. And then it'll sprout out again. And then, so it's like, keep a focus, then you'll grow tall and strong and there'll be abundance of tomatoes.
Oh my gosh,
Nice.
this is so great. This is so great. And also like part of it, right? This is why you have to be so clear about what your tomato, your business, like tomato was more of the leadership side, but what's it gonna look like when it's done, right? And get present to it every single day. Otherwise, you're gonna be sprouting out all over the place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I have another little side story about the tomato plant.
Oh yeah.
And it's all related. So Louise Hay has Heal Your Life book. And this is one version of it that's really artistically done. Every page is a work of art. And she talks about cleaning up your life, cleaning up the negativity in your consciousness, whatever you're telling yourself that's not true. She's like, you got to turn around all those thoughts into positive affirmations. So she's like, it's like a tomato plant. When you snip that negative thought and you pivot and you create a positive affirmation, tomato plants can produce like hundreds of tomatoes. So it's the same thing, but this is more on the mental. This is on the mental thing when you guys are going down the rabbit hole saying, I'm not going to make a video unless I know how to be Steven Spielberg, right? So it's turning it around. Turn around with a simple affirmation. I'm going to make a video today, and it doesn't matter what it looks like. I'm just going to step in the water and see how it goes. So anyway, I am a mystic. I do get information, and I've been working with Louise Hay's tomato plant thing of turning things around into affirmations, and it's not going as fast as I want it. And I heard the tomato plants are coming. The tomatoes are coming. You're doing the work. I'm like, okay, cool. I can stop being a pest.
So I have something to share about that.
Yes.
Because I created my vision for all these areas of my life, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to create my new coaching business is going to be $100,000 a year without, like I'm going to be doing these workshops. There are going to be 150 people in each workshop. It's going to be great. But I have this vision for Booming Bees. We're going to attract a bunch of people who want to franchise, and I don't have to do any of the, setting up the new location. But I'm going to find my dream partner and, get married and all this stuff. Then I'm going to weigh 137 pounds because that's my ideal weight. And so I have all these areas. And then every morning I would try to do the visualization. I would just get overwhelmed. I'm like, this is too much, too much scattered thinking. And so now I set up, every day I focus on one and really get into creative writing and write it out. And it's this morning I was focusing on my coaching business, and I'm just it's so much fun.
Nice. Yeah. Don't do all of the areas all in one day, or you'll spend half the day doing it. Get nothing done.
Or you just kind of you don't have the time to get into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And you won't let the creativity flow and all the positive, exciting emotions that come with it.
Yeah, cool. Well, one last thing on that same topic. I listened to Esther and, Abraham, and Abraham's like, be in the workshop 15, 20 minutes tops every day. That's enough. So I'm like, okay, good. That's enough. 15, 20 minutes. I'm good with that.
Yeah. That's about what I do.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. Eva, I thank you again so much for being here. She is lovely and a half, and I highly recommend taking advantage of that strategy session with her. She's a restaurant owner. She knows her stuff. Trust me. And I just want to let you guys know what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Next week, talk about systems. We're going to talk about sales funnels, your email marketing funnel, what that's all about. We're not going to go too terribly deep. We're going to just kind of skirt the basics so you know what those look like. So that's next week's topic. The week after that is Memorial Day weekend, and I'm going to be a bum, and we're not going to do anything. We're going to take the day off, Memorial Day, the day after Memorial Day, and do nothing. The week of June 5th is Mastermind Week, where everyone just brings their own questions to the table, and we help each other answer anything we have about our own businesses. And lastly, the week after that, I have another guest presenter who I've met from another. I don't know if you've met Katie Collins. She's new to the Daring Divas, Eva. Do you know who Katie Collins is? Yeah, she'll be speaking. She's a very good speaker, former teacher, so she's good. She'll be in June 12th. And then my birthday is the week after that, so there's no meeting on that day either. And by the way, Cheryl Murphy's birthday today, so if you see her on Facebook, go ahead and call out to Cheryl Murphy. Happy birthday to her. Roger, thank you for joining us today. Lene, thank you. Lisbeth, always a pleasure. And we'll be sharing this recording with you. I'm going to stop the recording right now, in fact.